How are you all this evening? A very good evening. We now have all the important people here. Unfortunately, we had to wait a little bit. Anyway, well, it's an evening of firsts. This is the first time we welcome our friends from Paris Descartes to this debate, and I'd like you to give them a big round of applause of welcome. There's a lot of other firsts. We've a fine crowd this evening. But the most important first this evening is nothing to do with the debate at all. It's one of the first, if not the first, event in our new Maison d'étudiants. Isn't it wonderful? And it's many thanks to Baptiste Laguet, who's student vice president, who happens also to be a member of the team, but he's not debating, he's not speaking tonight. And he's worked so tirelessly to get this off the ground. Well, no, he didn't actually build the building himself, but he did an awful lot of work that you don't actually see. But thank you very much, Baptiste. Now, I'd like to the business at hand, I'd like to start, if I may, with the short. Did you ever know me to do anything short? But anyway, explanation of the French Debating Association, or Paris 5 type debating. The debates are based on the rules and the procedures of the British House of Commons. In this Paris 5 debating style, 5 speakers from the government and 5 speakers from the opposition speak consecutively for 6 minutes each. The debate starts with the first speaker of the government and then the first speaker of the opposition, and so forth, one after another. Speakers who will speak here may be interrupted in 2 ways. They can be interrupted by a point of information, which is made only by the opposing team, and it has to be made standing up with the hands either outstretched like this or on your head. The speaker who is at the stand here may or may not accept the point, but he or she is obliged to take at least one and expected to accept 2 during his or her speech. Acceptance or refusal of the points of information should be made very clear, either verbally, like a no thank you, or through a very clear gesture, no. Points of information are included in the timing of the speech. And that's the thing. Now, the second method of interruption is a point of order. We have those very rarely, thankfully, but they're made directly to the chairman or woman, who must accept it. It concerns the running or the procedures of the debate. So that means if somebody feels, and it's usually from one of the 2 teams as well, that some rules are not being followed, and the point of order is not included in the timing of the speech. It may only come from one of the 10 speakers participating in the debate. Now, each speaker, as I said, speaks for 6 minutes. The first minute and the 6th minute of the speech are protected time. No points of information may be asked during the first minute of the speech or during the 6th minute of the speech. Between the beginning of the 2nd minute and the end of the 5th minute, the speaker may be interrupted by points of information from either side. Now, the person who is going to look after this very, very carefully and do all this minute to the thing is our fine belle lady, belle girl, belle person, Sarah Lou. So a big round of applause. Now, at the end of the first minute, Sarah will ring the bell, like so. At the end of the 5th minute, she'll ring it again, like so. But at the end of the 6th minute, when you've got to stop speaking, and even more than that if necessary, but at the 6th minute, the speaker must wrap up his or her speech and give the place to the next. The counter starts after the speaker is done with his or her opening address, like all the ladies and gentlemen, etc. Now, apart from the speakers and the bell girl, there's 3 very other important people here this evening, and we're very happy they made it. They had a few little hitches on the way, but they made it. The jury is composed of 1 coach or former judge, Mr. Peter Barrett, from the coach from Paris Sorbonne, And two former debaters, Iman Taleb and Claire Bernardin. Now, the judges, they don't just choose the winner of the day, they're the ones who decide who the winner of the debate is. And they also choose, generally, from the non-winning team, the best speaker for the evening. Now, and the winner of the debate is the team which has obtained the most votes from the jury. That's the reason there are only 3. I think that's about it. Of course, to the stars of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, I will now introduce you. So, for the proposition, we have Prime Minister Oliver Harper. Followed by Alice Guy Debut. Then Gwenaëlle Ménager. Followed by Dialecti Valsamou. And finally, Mike Yacoub. And on the opposition side, we have our shadow Prime Minister, Nina Descartes. And then we have Rosa Cook, Laura Vergeron, Tatiana Grieg, and Solène Valéry. One last point before we start the proceedings. The audience is strongly encouraged to participate in 2 ways. If you agree with a point from any of the orators, you have to shout very loudly. Yeah. And if you disagree, shame. Okay, we've got it. That's all you need to do tonight. And of course, clap very loudly. Without further, yes? Coach. Oh, of course, yes. I thought he was included in the thing. I would like also to welcome Philippe Berciot, who comes with the coach of the thing. And of course, coach extraordinaire Jacques Blanc for our own team. That's about it, I think, for this evening. For me, for a while now, you'll hear motion. One used to. Now that might be useful. Now, will I get this right? This House believes that the environment must come first. Proposing our Paris Sud, opposing our Paris Descartes. So. To open the debate.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Esteemed members of the jury, honourable members of the opposition, dear friends of the government, and punctual bell girl, whose rhythmic precision is music to my ears. Ladies and gentlemen, 500 billion. Yes, that's a 5 with 11 zeros after it. It's also the number of tons of polar ice that melt into the sea every single year because of global warming. Sea levels are therefore rising to critical levels. So if any of you live on the ground floor, get ready for a quick dip. I would like to thank you all for coming, as I cannot stress enough the gravity of the motion to be discussed tonight. Whether it be on the news or in the papers, we are forever being told to look after our environment. The environment, it's the natural world encompassing all living and non-living beings on Earth. I can already hear the sighs coming from the opposition, thinking we're just another bunch of nature-loving, tree-hugging hippies. And that's both a pity and a worry. It shouldn't just be Greenpeace activists who focus on the environment. It should be at the very top of every single person's agenda. Now, I'm no Louis Armstrong, but honestly, what a wonderful world. The opposition will have to tell me what must come first if it isn't just that. What could possibly be more important than the world in which we live, our home? Yes, please.
You are telling me this is a wonderful world and we should first of all worry about protecting it, but do you really think people in war zones have the environment as their first worry?
Well, when I refer to the wonderful world, of course I'm talking about nature, and I think you'll agree that it is a wonderful world, and we'll come to wars and we'll say that if we put the environment first, actually we'll solve a lot of conflicts in the world today. So we, the government, must insist that we must make the environment our top priority. You may think that this is strange, even paradoxical. Some may say, surely man ought to put himself first. What is best for us deserves first place. Why prioritise the surroundings instead of the centre? Of course, ladies and gentlemen, you all know that we cannot be so naive. We are intricately and delicately linked to the environment. Man is but one element in a rich, complex system of life, sadly being jeopardised apparently due to sheer ignorance of the facts. To emphasise the importance of the environment and to justify why it must come first, let's talk about Bob the fish. Before I do, please.
Don't you think that we should treat problems like homeless, ISIS, and all the politics problems before treat our problems with the environment?
Of course, we should deal about these problems, but the motion is what must be our priority. The biggest threat in the 21st century is the environment. That should be our top priority. So, we are like a goldfish in many ways. We live in a tank that is a tiny speck of dust called Earth, hurtling through space at 67,000 miles per hour. So coming back to Bob, when the water gets dirty, somebody changes it to prevent poor old Bob from dying in some murky, stagnant water. Ladies and gentlemen, our world is just like Bob's. It has become dark, smelly, even unhealthy. But sadly, no one is going to refresh our atmosphere or put our oceans through a sieve in order to rid them of the thousands of tons of waste we have been putting into them over the years. We can and we must answer to the years of neglect and do it ourselves before reaching the point of no return. So you see, the environment must come first, as so many things depend on it, thrive off it, or potentially suffer if we neglect it, even in the slightest. We would like to say tonight that the environment isn't a problem, it's the solution. First things first, let's start by getting that right. In the process, other things will fall into place a lot quicker and a lot easier. Improving our economy, civil rights, war, society, political systems are all very noble goals, but they require a world in which to function to even exist at all. The environment can help us there, as our team shall demonstrate tonight. My colleague Alice will remind us of how regrettably effective we have been at destroying our home. Our environmentalist Gwenaël will show how mankind and the environment form a single entity called the biosphere. Dialecti, our guest from outer space, will offer an out-of-this-world perspective on the matter and show how putting the environment first would realistically be beneficial to humanity. Last but not least, Mike will add that it isn't too late but we must act now and can't selfishly leave it for other generations. The environment isn't a problem, it is the solution. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why it is vital to accept the motion. Thank you.
Most respected members of the jury, most splendid chairwoman, most delightful belle girl, most reasonable members of the public, dear members of the proposition, fellow members of the opposition, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. First of all, let's make it crystal clear. We are not the bad guys. We are not here to convince you that environment is bad, but rather to prove you that making it the one and only priority isn't a good idea. But let's not jump to conclusion. The debate is not over yet. Now that I got that out of my chest, I can rebut one point or two. Our PM of the government said that putting the environment first will solve wars. But if I remember correctly, we planned the tree after the victory, not before. Then he said that environment was the biggest threat. As my colleagues will say, the average man is worried about many things before, like crisis, like health, like many things. Now, let's go back. Let's, how shall I put it delicately, redefine the motion. What is... no, please. What is the environment? The Oxford Dictionary defines it as a place or surroundings in which animals, plants, and humans live or operate. So basically nature, I mean, that's where we all come from. What makes the difference between the animal and us, well, for most of us actually, is that we have learned how to control it, not to be controlled by it. And now some people think we've gone too far, and we must spend every single breath we have in order to restore it. The government seems to believe that we are the only cause of it, and therefore the only solutions to restore balance to the world. Yes, please?
You just said that we are the ones who can control it, so how can we not be the ones who can change it and come up with a solution?
Well, we did say that we care about the environment. However, we do not care enough to make it a top priority. So, if I remember correctly, Paulo Coelho said something that perfectly summarized this mentality. How can we be so arrogant? The planet is, was, and always be stronger than us. We can't destroy it. If we overstep the mark, the planet will simply erase us from its surface and carry on existing. Why don't they start talking about not letting the planet destroy us? There you have it. Environment will keep changing, and there is nothing we can do to stop that. Of course, it's not a reason not to care about it at all. It's still important. In just a minute. It's still important, but not enough to become the priority. Yes, please?
Don't you think that it's mankind that's bringing on climate change?
Well, I don't know about... I know that man has changed a little. But when you look at the life... When you look at how old is the Earth, we are nothing compared to that. We're just a blink in of an eye. So I believe that we may have consequences on the environment. However, it's not as important as the government wants us to believe. If the government wants to live in a fairy tale in which they become Leonardo DiCaprio, trying to save the animals and the trees of the forest, fine by them. Let them be. But please, dear members of the juries, no thank you. Dear members of the juries, dear members of the public, please, let's not vote for them. Let's all open our eyes. Other matters bears equal, if not superior, importance. The rainbow that is life needs all its color to be complete, not just the green, no matter how many shades it has. My colleagues will brighten up your days. Rosa will enlighten us by showing us that people are like a yellow ray, like a sunbeam on the ocean that deserves our full undivided attention. After all, how good is the environment if the people are not happy? Then Laure will wave the purple flag of science. Don't we need science and technology too? After all, we are called intelligent beings. Then Tatiana will dazzle us in the white light that is politics, that combines every colors. Then Solène, our dear whip, will make all this color, yellow, purple, white, blue, green, shines brightly. I leave you in the hand of Rosa, that prefer to be people-friendly rather than eco-friendly. Let's embrace environment and people. And remember, give the rainbow a chance. Dear jury, please reject the motion. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, distinguished members of the jury, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of the opposition, I would like to remind you of a little situation that we have right now in Ukraine, and I think proves that many wars are waged over resources and over the environment, or as the American diplomat can put it very well, yes, the war in Iraq was never about oil, it was about gasoline. We live on a planet dominated by humans, and we are putting unprecedented pressure on the natural systems on Earth. This might sound like bad news, but as our Prime Minister already pointed out, it's also part of the good news, as surprising as it might seem. Before anything, we are the first generation to be aware that we are currently undermining the stability and the ability of planet Earth to support human development as we know it. Furthermore, because we're in a phase where transformation is necessary, countless windows are opening for innovation. We all have to go on a scientific journey to take up the challenges facing humanity. A journey with sustainability as a goal and the environment as a method, because the environment is not a problem, it is the solution.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Are you going to sorry? Are you going to finance this innovation based on charity of big enterprises and not for economical reasons?
Well, I think that the big companies might want to treat the environment as a priority too, and I think it might even be in their interest.
Yeah.
The trouble is we are currently putting a triple squeeze on this poor planet.
Shame.
A first squeeze is population growth, of course. And it's not only about the fact that we're 7 billion people heading for 9 billion. It's a matter of equality as well. Yes, please.
Will you feed 7 billion of person with organic food?
Well, I think we indeed have to think about how we can feed these people, and to feed them we need the environment. Thanks, but no thanks. The environmental impacts are bound to increase tremendously as the majority of the planet claiming their right for development aspire for a Western, unsustainable lifestyle. The second pressure on the planet is climate change, which you have probably heard of somewhere before. Concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are currently higher than they've been for millions of years. These concentrations keep increasing, and with them, the likelihood of reaching average temperatures that we haven't seen for tens of millions of years. And that would in turn lead to changing desert, changing rivers, changing sea levels, millions of people who would have to move. And if we've learned anything from the past, it also means severe and extended conflict. Yeah. Now, you would have wished this climate pressure to hit a strong, healthy planet. But unfortunately, the third pressure is ecosystem decline. Scientific evidence of this decline is presented in detail in the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, an international synthesis conducted by a dream team of over 1,000 of the world's leading scientists. It concludes that human activity is having a significant and escalating impact on ecosystems all around the world, reducing their efficiency. The report refers to the environment as humanity's life support system, providing us with essential services. Our third speaker, Gwenaëlle, will build upon this concept of ecosystem services to illustrate our intricate relationship with the environment and how foolish we are to jeopardize it. If you are not yet convinced of the urgency that we are faced with, look around you, because the tremendous pressure we're putting our planet under is not going only to impact our future. It's already apparent now. More than 10,000 people have left the county of Minqing in China over the last 5 years due to pollution and poor water management. So there is immediate experience and scientific evidence. They bring us the difficult news that we are facing the largest technological challenge since industrialization. What we have to do over the next generation is more dramatic and more exciting than what led us to where we are today. There is opportunity here, without a doubt, and we can list many, many examples of transformative prospects all around the world. The key, though, in all of these, the red thread, is the change of mentality through the realization that our environment is not a problem, but the solution. Ladies and gentlemen, please accept this motion.
Reasonable and clever judges, wise chairwoman, exquisite timekeeper, depressing member of the government, and beloved audience, good evening. Let me go straight to the point. We are rainbow, enlightening you, ladies and gentlemen, after the storm of the government. Nina, our green sunbeam, thanks for defining the environment so well. To carry on with color codes, children and debaters find them very useful. I'll flash a yellow card, and I'll stand for people against a hostile nature. Laure will shine the purple light, and she'll show what science can do. Tatiana, the girl with kaleidoscope eyes, will put all these colors together for you. The proposition would have you believe that the environment must come first. On one hand, it seemed the proposition would be very keen to impose some sort of diktat on you, ladies and gentlemen. Shame. On this house, on this earth. Yeah, that's right. Remember, this member of the government said that apparently we are destroying our environment. But why are we still here? I guess we are not as good at self-destruction as she pretends. Dear Alice, this is such not a wonderland you're proposing us tonight. You see, we are not the first generation to care about the environment. It's been 60 years, and a generation, as you might know, lasts 20 years. You seem to disagree on the third world claiming its right for development. Obviously, she's suggesting to let the soul world right where they are.
Shame.
She talked
On
about
that point, please.
no, thank you. She talked about unsustainable Western lifestyle. Late, yet I only see Westerners defending eco-friendly attitude. We, on the other hand, believe that people must come first. Politics must come first. Science must come first. Harry Potter must come first.
Point of information, please.
Yes, go
So
ahead.
all of those subjects have to come first. Do you know what first means?
I'm just pointing out the fact that humorotion is not great because
Shame.
all these points are equally important, so nothing should come first. What's more important in this world?
Point of information.
No, thank you. What's more important in this world than ourselves? I mean, come on, don't lie to yourself. Car sharing is a wonderful concept. A very green one indeed. But would you give your sneaky, creepy neighbor a ride to his working place to save fuel? Would you stop eating Nutella to save monkeys? No, because I'm sure you're not aware that palm oil culture is destroying the habitats.
Point of information, please.
What do you want to say?
Well, actually, you're telling us that the problem is that we're not aware enough of the problem, and we're here to discuss awareness of such a problem. Doesn't this prove that it actually is a very important one that might need to come first?
I'm saying that indeed you're not aware enough that that your lifestyle is destroying the environment, so obviously it doesn't come first. My point is, all over the past, we often had to sacrifice the environment for economic reasons. No, thank you. And for the sake and survival of mankind. Destroy the forest to turn it into fields, turn hills and prairies into towns, and it never bothers us to do so, for our own good. More seriously, if the environment must come first, let's go all organic, and the world population, a remainder, more than 7 billion people, will wither and die. If the government wants to let humanity die for the environment, we don't want to. We care about the environment as much as we care about humanity, comfort, science, technology, public health. I mean, parents don't have a favorite child, you know? If your parents do, there are some very good headlines to help you. Ask my sister. Oh, shame on the government, ladies and gentlemen. They want to make the environment come first before liberty? Now imagine I'm a Texas cowboy. See, I put a hand on my head and my boots. In order to protect the environment, I can run in a Hummer. That's what you say in France, huh? Well, if I don't drive one, I can't eat on chicks, and therefore I can't have kids, and mankind will become extinct. Everyone is free to live how they want, even the people from Texas. Let's embrace the environment, but let's also embrace the people. And let's keep a place for science without special correspondent law. Wise judges, give the rainbow a chance. Reject the motion.
Dear Madam Chairwoman, distinguished members of the jury, fabulously cute timekeeper, esteemed member of the opposition, my dear friends from the government, ladies and gentlemen from the audience, good evening. First, the opposition tonight seems a bit confused. First, they say that we control the environment and that's what makes us different from animals, but immediately after they say that we can't change the environment because it will change anyway. And we can't do anything about it. Are you right, dear members of the opposition? Did you breathe too much polluted air before coming here? Oh, and by the way, you tell me how people who faced tsunamis and hurricanes did control the environment. You call us depressed, but I think you're just in denial. My friend Oliver explained that the motion we're discussing here tonight might be perceived as a paradox. Indeed, how can the environment that by definition surrounds something come after the something itself? Well, the truth is that the reality is a lot more complicated than that simple definition. We are not just surrounded by our environment, we are a part of it. We are connected to the biosphere on so many levels, it makes us entirely dependent on it.
Information?
Yes?
So if you say we are a part of our environment, basically you agree with us telling that we should care about people.
I'm telling you that you have to care about what counts most for you. I mean, your life counts most for you, I'm sure, but in order to protect your life, you have to do what's best for you, and what's best for you is defending the environment you're living in. Did you know, no thank you, did you know that one of the most complex fields in science is ecosystem ecology? It consists in studying ecosystems, their population, and the relationships between the two. And it's incredibly hard to enumerate and to study the links between all those species, be they animal or vegetal. We are living in a complex world ruled by complex connections between every single part of the biosphere. And that makes all of us, just one big entity. You may not realize it, but your own life depends on so many elements out there. You all probably heard of this famous quotation from Albert Einstein, which is, if the bees disappeared off the surface of the earth, then mankind would only have 4 years of life left. Yes?
Can you please give me a scientific explanation to that quote?
Yes, I'm just going to do it, thank you. So, the good news is that Albert Einstein never said this. The man was a clever physicist, but he was no ecologist. The bad news, actually, is that that fact is still true. And it's happening, right now. Bees are extremely sensitive to the pollution we're constantly creating, and their numbers is decreasing drastically. The point is that we are only one species among all the others, and we cannot live on our own. We need the environment, and we need it to work well in order to live in it and in order to live with it. That's why it must come first. Alice briefly told you about ecosystem, no thank you, services, and I will now detail this concept a bit. An ecosystem service is an action carried out by the biosphere that benefits us, humans, for free. But it's not just a benefit to us, actually, it's a matter of life or death. Let's take the bees illustration again for our dear opposition. Bees are involved in the process of pollination, which is the main way for plants to reproduce. And you all know that plants are our main way of getting food. Now, let's take the bees out of the picture. No bees, no pollination. No pollination, no plants reproduction. And no plants reproduction, well, no more food for us. And then what? I let you imagine. No, thank you. And if we were to do the entire beeswax just by ourselves, not only it would need a lot of manpower, but it would cost us a modest price of $150 billion a year. No, thank you. So, we really should preserve these ecosystem services. No, thank you. Again, the environment is not a problem, it's the solution. Still no, thank you. And the Dialecty, or galactic consultant, will tell you more about how the environment can positively affect our economy, our society, our political system. And the bees example is just one ecosystem service among plenty of others. Forests recycle our air. Soil contributes to filtrate our water. Biodiversity gives us medicinal resources. We owe the environment a lot.
Alice showed you all the damage we've done to the environment, and she explained how sustainability must be the keyword in our way of managing the environment. Sustainability would allow us to live peacefully in this great entity that we are all involved in, which is the biosphere. It's not too late to stop destroying nature and to start understanding it better in order to live along with it. We need the environment. We're connected to the biosphere on so many levels. We depend on relationships we don't even understand. So let's play it safe. Let's not ruin this world. We have to put the environment at the top of our priorities so we'll be able to solve every other issue. Please, dear jury, our environment is our home. Let's preserve it. For us and for the future generations coming. Support life and accept this motion. Thank you.
Most respected chairwoman, esteemed yet ill-advised members of the government, delightful timekeeper, honorable unsane colleagues from the opposition, distinguished members of the jury, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a good evening. As Nina very clearly explained, we are not the bad guys. We are probably the slightly more sensible ones. We are the ones humble enough to know that if we overstep the line, nature will take back its right and outlive us. As Rosa put it, we are the ones not willing to sacrifice our families and our few greenbacks for a sole bit of green grass. I should first of all start with a few words of rebuttal on the nonsense that's been coming out from the other side. Alice, you talked about the unsustainable Western lifestyle. I'm sorry, but so far I mainly see Westerners working towards more eco-friendly attitudes and lifestyles. Please tell me developing nations have the time and money to develop cleaner technologies. Right now they're trying to feed their people. Gwenaëlle, thank you for pointing out we hadn't brought our explanation down to the government's level. I'm sorry if we seemed to be in a grey zone. We thought color coding was enough, but apparently not. There is no grey zone. We did say that we are not strong enough to destroy our planet, and that is what we strongly believe. It will outlive us if we don't play by its rules. We also believe we are strong enough to change it, either in a good or in a bad way, and whether we do so in that good or bad way depends on all the other priorities we have to think about. And one of these is science. I am here to explain to you why I think science, the purple sunbeam from the great rainbow we stand for, is equally important as the green sunbeam from that rainbow, the environment, and why it must sometimes take priority over it. If you remember the Make Poverty History campaign, you will know where I'm going with this. I need you to clap with me. Please, everybody. Come on. I need you to clap. And I'm sorry to tell you that every time we clap, a child dies from starvation in Africa. And usually, people stop clapping, but even if they do, it doesn't prevent the children from dying. I'll take you in a minute. 1 child every 3 seconds. Even with their memory, goldfish know it because the frequency is so high that it fits in the 5-second banner. And you, members of the opposition, cannot ignore it. Proposition. Please, you had a point. You did.
Couldn't we actually help those kids in Africa if we take care of the deserts and the environment surrounding them and reduce the cost of energy?
Well, you see, I'm pretty much getting there now, and I don't think that's the way we're going to do this. Today, we know how to modify crops, vegetables, fruits, and make them grow in very dry environments. Those are GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Oh, yeah, right. And when you members of the government, oppose on researching them, on selling them, or on giving them charitably to needy populations, I hope you know you are playing the third angel that pours a bowl of blood into the dried streams and rivers. In science, trying to prevent all supposedly environmentally harmful endeavors is a mere kiss of death. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will the green world you call for be. In order to get there, we need trial and error, and we need to pollute a bit, probably.
Shame.
It's so nice to see so many utopists out there. William Shakespeare wrote, "To unpathed waters and dreamed shores." Colleagues from the proposition, allow us to walk not so clean path for a while, just for a while. And it is very likely that, just like the ancient oil engines are slowly turning into carbon footprint-free hydrogen engines, very clean technologies will come out of those not so clean paths, and they will outbalance the pollution that we have had to go through in order to develop them. Yes? Mike?
The longer we wait, the more we suffer. How long will you have us suffer until you decide to make the environment a priority?
Well, I cannot disagree more with what you just said, because I am not having you suffer when I am trying to develop technologies that will eventually be clean. But I do not think that when we first had steam trains, we had any way to have clean trains. And if we hadn't gone through that very specific step, then we would probably not be there with all the clean technology, all the recycling we have. Dearest colleagues from the government, I so wish you would give us the green light to go on with our lives as we live them. That is caring equally for education, for politics, for economics, for science, and for the environment. And if you did allow us to do so, we would invite you to drink a greenie, and then we would throw the bottles into the recycling glass container, because we're like that. But I know you won't give us that green light, so blame your clouded mind for the missed opportunity. And I shall yield the floor to my colleague, Tatiana, who will polarize all the rays of the rainbow and shine the white light of politics down on you. In conclusion, fellow members of the opposition, colleagues from the proposition, and most of all, honorable members of the jury, I beg you to oppose this motion and give the rainbow a chance.
Citizens of Earth, we come in peace. Great female human of the chair, accurate keeper of the time dimension, wise elders of the jury, dear human friends of the proposition, thank you for inviting me here today. And young humans of the opposition party, you will thank them later in life. First you go on, Lord, telling us how our scientific facts are nonsense, at the same time actually arguing that science is the way, which doesn't really make sense for me. And you also suggested things that we never suggested. We never even touched the GMO subject. We do know how to cover our backs. And actually, you went on and made a whole argument about how we need to treat all those issues, all those very important issues. And actually, this is the point we're trying to make too. We want to treat all those issues, and we want to treat them by treating the environment first. So we're not here to threaten you or to spread fear. I actually bring a message of hope from the depths of the galaxy. My kind has studied your kind for millennia now, and I'm here to bring to you the answer we've been all looking for, and no, it's not 42. The solution to all of your problems is right here with you, right here around you. Prime specimen Oliver has eloquently summarized how actually a system works, and the fundamental condition of every part flourishing is that the whole's well-being. Our panel's engineer, Alice, did a reality check and warned us of the extremely urgent nature and the dangerous setbacks of not putting our environment first. The proposition's trained environmentalist, Gwenaël, has added science to the mix, explaining exactly how natural systems work and actually how they are based on this harmonic coexistence between their parts. And now, my dear friends of the great Homo sapiens species, I am here to tell you how positive action, please let me finish my sentence, positive action can actually fix so many problems of the humankind. Yes, please.
You are saying that the system works. Should I remind you the numbers of for the election for the VER?
Well, I don't think a political party agenda has many considerations to take into account. And some of them might actually go against their ideology, but we're not here on behalf of the Ver, we're actually here on behalf of the human race, or other races in my case, and to tell you how the environment is important and how it is a solution to so many problems. So before I continue, I want to introduce myself. My own species is a very peaceful species. We're responsible for the sustainability of the galaxy. Our lifespans of hundreds of Earth years allow us to provide consulting services to young planets in critical conditions. So this one is one of my toughest missions because mankind can't see the forest for the tree. So the solution actually for Earth is simple, very simple. Focusing on the environment has concrete benefits for mankind. Yes, please.
So if we invited you here, that means we focused on science and not on the environment.
Actually, we came alone, and I have business cards if you're interested for afterwards. So many important aspects. So what builds great human societies? One very important aspect is the economy. Green economies are actually healthier economies. So you mentioned the developing world. Here it is, those examples. India is solving energy problems which were unsolvable before by the use of solar panels. Bogota, Guangzhou, Lima, and many other cities are satisfying their ever-increasing transportation needs by using cheap, efficient, and green rapid bus lines. Yes, go on.
Do you know that in India, almost half the population is suffering from hunger, from poverty, and lives under $2 a day?
Actually, this program they are implementing is very interesting because it actually brings electricity to remote places, households and farms on feeding, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people. And it's doing so using the water canals because they do have a land problem. This structure actually cools the water down and helps with water evaporation, thus bringing water better to farms and households. So the success stories are too many to list in the developing world, and there are actually many in the developed countries too. Like in a study conducted by the UN, 80% of the CEOs of the world's biggest companies agreed that sustainability must be a requirement for the businesses. So no, thank you very much. So if those CEOs understand it, I can't see how the opposition refuses to remove their heads out of the sand. No, thank you very much. So there are many, many other advantages for fairer societies, less tension, less violence. But lastly, human friends, I'd like to not forget about the obvious benefits on your quality of life. So, as the famous cartoon on climate change amusingly puts it, what if it's a big hoax and we create a better world for nothing? So it's not at all a hoax, ladies and gentlemen. So please, intergalactic friends of above average sentiency, if you remember one thing from an improbable encounter, let it be that the environment is not a problem, it's the solution. My colleagues have planted the seeds, and our extremely efficient human whip will tell you how it can grow into something bigger and change your lives for the better. I personally have already bought tickets for the year 2234 to bring my family to your wonderful planet, so I beg you, dear citizens of Earth, accept this motion.
Dear Chairperson, distinguished members of the jury, delightful bell girl, members of the proposition, fellow members of the opposition, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Climate change poses a threat to the people of the world. Environmentalists are pessimistic that political leaders will never take any positive action to protect the environment. The headlines have been stressful lately, to say the least. I mean, who in his or her right mind wouldn't be scared of the consequences of an environmental meltdown? But ladies and gentlemen, that's not what this debate is about. The environment is suffering. Yeah, but so are some people from different regions of the world. Issues about the environment, economics, and politics are interrelated. Always putting the environment first is too short-sighted.
and can be detrimental to our society. We have to do what's best for human life to be sustained. Therefore, in order to take care of the environment, we need to take care of our society. But first, a few words of rebuttal. We never said that the protection of the environment should not be a priority. However, some matters are more urgent than others. You're saying that rising sea levels will kill us one day, probably, in 100 years. Well, I can name over 100 things that will kill humans by tomorrow, such as poverty, hunger, unsanitary conditions. Look, think of it this way. Your house is on fire. Everything is burning. You're going to lose everything. All your beloved pictures, personal belongings, and someone might even be trapped. You're frantically looking for a fire extinguisher. But wait, those are known to be very harmful for the environment and contribute to global warming. So what are you gonna do? You're just gonna stand there, not do anything, stare blankly? Also, one more point. The river Gange, you talked about it, is the most polluted river of the world. So, talking about how renewable wasn't very clever on that part. Now, let me ask you a question. No, thank you. What is the greatest threat to the environment? Ignorance. More ignorance and the tolerance of it. Most people respond to the uncertainty of our future on Earth with more emotion than might be wise. You see, uncertainty has a nasty way of making us believe the worst possibilities ever. For example, I want you to think about the last time you heard a sound in the middle of the night outside your bedroom door. You probably thought you were about to be brutally murdered. Well, turns out it was just a cat.
Point of information, please.
I'll take you in a minute. With the environment, the worst possibilities are completely biblical, with rising sea levels or terrifying superstorms. Actually, that reminds me. At a council, on global warming, one of the speakers said that there is no global warming threat after all. They just got Fahrenheit and Celsius mixed up. But seriously though, climate change is an urgent matter that needs to be addressed. However, blindly putting the environment first, no matter the cost, is too dangerous and has terrible consequences not only on our economy, but on our way of life and our human need to innovate, as clearly shown by my fellow teammates. No, thank you. Dangerous behavior is best solved by education. But before we undertake numerous public awareness campaigns, we need to create a stable political setting for our society to prosper. You may or may not be familiar with the tale of 4 blind men being asked to identify the object in front of them. Each blind man just investigated a part, so no one identified the whole as an elephant. Concentrating on one dimension without the others is similar to those blind men looking at just one part of the elephant. I'll take it in a minute. This form of environmentalism that the proposition is defending ignores humanity as an essential part of the solution and forgets about our basic needs. Yes?
I'm glad you didn't forget about me.
No, never.
We have actually just said that if we put the environment first, we can solve all the other problems much easier. Don't you agree?
No, I don't. Look, taking care of the environment's gonna take years. We're counting like 1,000 years. Some matters, we're not gonna make the world better by tomorrow. It's gonna take almost, no thank you. It's gonna take thousands of years, like probably hundreds. We need to take control of what are the urgent matters. I'll get back to my speech. Carl Sagan, a famous cosmologist, once said, "The nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, and the carbon in our apple pies were made in the interiors of collapsing stars. We are made of star stuff. People matter. We matter. We cannot turn a blind eye to the serious, urgent issues that mankind is facing, such as poverty or hunger. Therefore, we believe that a social crisis and an environmental meltdown should be dealt with together. One cannot be considered more important than the other." Ladies and gentlemen, do not give in to the proposition's ultimatum that is requiring us and forcing us to always put the environment first, with no exception whatsoever. We believe that's absurd and even quite naive. A realistic approach is very much needed. My fellow teammate Solène will reuse, recycle, but not reduce our speeches to clearly showcase why the environment should not come first. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, please give the rainbow a chance. For all these reasons, honorable judges, we beg you to oppose this motion. Thank you very much.
Good spirit. Esteemed members of the jury, dear friends of the proposition, honorable members of the opposition, Madam Chairman, and awesome bald girl who actually cares about the environment coming here by bicycle. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Let me first recapitulate on what the opposition said. They started with Nina. Oh, Nina. We did not say one and only priority. It's the most important priority. We do care about war, famine, but we can help them through the environment. And it is the biggest threat right now. And we control the environment. What about Heidi? My friend Gwenaëlle told you about that. What about tsunamis and hurricanes all over the world right now? At least we can't stop them now. Making the environment, at least for the next 20 years, our top priority. And Rosa came second, portraying us as depressing. Us, really? We're not telling you to run for the hills, ladies and gentlemen. We're telling you to help us fix a problem that humanity created over the years to advance. She cited so many points and said that not one is a priority. We can get our priorities straight. You care about friends, no, not now, and family. We do too. But we need to protect our home first, or friends and family will not really be fun, would they? Yes.
So you're telling me that if you have to kill your wife in order to kill the planet,
I wouldn't kill my wife to do it. I would plant a tree. And then they went on with lore. With nature taking back its course, well, not when we mess with it, it won't. The course it will take is climate change. And I don't think the way to a green world is through temporary pollution and waiting for a high-tech solution in hopes. Not now, please. I think the way to a green world at least starts by making the environment a priority, the top priority. And then, okay.
What are you going to say to the people who have to wait 20 years to get their problem solved, whether it's war zone or famine? I know you care about it, but you are saying that you are going to first save your environment for 20, 50 years, and then care about those people?
I'm not saying that I'm going to wait. I'm saying that I'm going to care more about the environment while I care about those other things. I can fix them while fixing the environment. Tatiana. No, not now. Political leaders have been taking action. Political leaders are making actual decisions that prioritize the environment over job opportunities if there's scarce job opportunities. We need more understanding of the risks. We're not saying don't put out fires on a burning man. Actually, a fire would cause more CO2 emission than the fire extinguisher. We are not, and I repeat, we are not uncertain. It's a scientific fact that the environment is deteriorating. Putting the environment first does have a cost. Yes, it does have a cost. But ignoring it will only increase that cost. And there is no way we can just eliminate with no cost whatsoever. We're not going to fix it by tomorrow, I'm telling you. But we better start sometime soon. Ladies and gentlemen, what do we give priority for in our everyday lives? We give priority to the closest and biggest threat, and we deal with it. It's fight or flight. And today we're in a severe, extended conflict with planet Earth, and we can't turn it off. We can't make a peace treaty with the planet, and we can't negotiate the laws of physics. We're in it. We're stuck. So as my friend Oliver told you, this is why it is important that the environment must come first, because the threat we pose on the environment makes it a priority. Yes, we're the problem. The environment is not the problem. We had to put you through the facts, not now. Only madmen and economists believe that everything can grow endlessly. And sadly, a lot of them run the world. And that growth is reflecting on the environment. Sea levels rising, pollution, and depleted resources. And you probably heard even more from someone else, and that only proves our point even more. It's the truth. It's happening. It's urgent, and it needs to be dealt with now. And that's why we sounded the alarm with Alice. No. Did I tell you I like oranges? I really like oranges. Seriously, I do. When I was born, the day I was born, my father had planted an orange tree, and he called it Mike's tree. And 7 years later, I planted another one right next to it. And, no thank you. Let me finish the story. 7 years later, I planted another one right next to it. And today I'm glad that these two trees will make up for the 5 tons of CO2 that I will put out, that I will cause in my lifetime. You see, the environment itself is the solution. Wind, sunlight, and water. That's what my friend Yadek T was telling you about, that the environment is the solution. We are seeing changes, more electric cars, better insulation, but we're not cutting emissions enough. We need better understanding. And as a major economist who sees the light put it, we can have better growth, better climate, and a better world. We can make the next 100 years the best of centuries. If we make a mess of it, the next 100 years will be the worst. The environment is not a problem, ladies and gentlemen, it's the solution. And now it's up to you. Are you going to look your children or grandchildren in the eye and tell them that you understood the risks, yet failed to act and make it a priority? When your son asks you to do something fun, go teach him how to plant an orange tree. And if 5 concerned scientists stand before you and tell you that the environment must come first, please accept their motion. Thank you.
Dear Chairperson, ravishing bell girl, learned yet misguided members of the government, rational fellow members of the opposition, honorable and distinguished members of the jury, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It seems that on the other side of the house we have some devoted idealists who have read way too many fairy tales. Don't you agree? Sure. After this colorful debate, I would advise the government to read more Celtic legends. Let me give you a taste of it. Once upon a time, in a green land called Ireland, on a rainy day, a divine sunbeam gave birth to a rainbow. Legend has it that the leprechauns, these old green creatures with a hat, found a bucket of gold at the foot of the rainbow. Let me get this straight. To find the bucket of gold, you need that green being, but most importantly, you need all the colors of the rainbow. As we rainbow warriors have brilliantly shown you tonight, green is fine, but we also need yellow, purple, white, you name it. We need to concentrate on economy,
Point of information.
no thank you, science and politics to get a perfect rainbow. Can we really be in favor of this idea of the environment comes first? The answer is no for sure. Oliver tried to make you think that the biggest threat of the 21st century is global warming. No, thank you. And ice melting. The biggest threat, seriously, I'd rather our government take care of homeless, fight ISIS, and erase Justin Bieber from the planet. No, thank you. Our green PM, Nina, expertly defined the environment for you. That is to say, nature. And then she explained our timeline to you. To make a rainbow, you need all the color, not just green.
A point of information.
I'll take you.
Well, you seem to referring to yourselves as colourful rainbow warriors and us as the terrible storm, but did you know that the rainbow actually comes after the storm?
Exactly. We came after the storm to unlight the house tonight. Alice would like you to believe that she is trying to convince you. Or herself, I don't know, that companies will innovate with this idea of environment first. Yeah. But hello, this is capitalism. It means that the first priority of a CEO of the company is money. Money must come first for them. No, thank you. Rosa, our yellow ray clearly showed you that we pledge to make the world better and nicer, and we care about humanity as much as we care about the environment. Gwenaël
our environmentalists apparently, we would like to recycle environmentalists souvenir from 2011 for you guys, I guess. The links between animals and biosphere is very important indeed, but we heard a very sweet speech, sweet as only speech about bees. But may I tell you that agriculture allowed our species to develop. You wouldn't even be there if agriculture didn't exist. So you wouldn't talk about bees. No, thank you. Our purple-black waiver convinced you that science is equally important as the environment. We must sometimes sacrifice the latter for science, and that the temporary environmental cost will soon be balanced by incredibly clean technologies.
On that point, please.
No, thank you. For the Sahel and the desert, I'm sorry we can't do something in the short term, but we can do something to help people, to give them food, to give them a roof, to help them to live in right conditions. So in the short term, that is feasible.
Point, please.
No, thank you. Our fourth speaker tried to make you believe that India has been saved by solar panels. For your information, one politician in India won a regional election by promising during his campaign water closet in every house. Indians' first priority is probably not the environment, but maybe to have right conditions to live.
On that point, please.
No, thank you. Again, we heard again something about CEO. CEO's first priority, as I said, is money. Even if they say for their conscience that sustainability is important. Tatiana was our white light because indeed issues about environment, economics, politics are interrelated, just like the white light is the result of every wavelength. And putting the environment first is detrimental to our society. Dear Mehdi, can you explain to our audience how you would taking care of environment will help Kurds and Syrians in those regions? I would like to read this information. And you talk about environment, but it looked like that you're talking about saving mankind, not putting people. So you're putting people first. So you agree with us. And our last point would be in fire extinguisher. It's TFC. So half-life of CFC is 200 of years. Dear jury, dear public, dear opponents, give the rainbow a chance. I beg you to oppose because somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true.
Okay, the ladies and gentlemen of the jury have returned.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for bearing with us this evening. We had a very interesting debate tonight. Indeed, as the COP21 is coming to Paris this year, it's a very relevant debate indeed, and one that we must have had in the FDA, and I'm very glad we had it this year. We debated for quite a while, to be honest, because this wasn't an easy decision, and I could not stress that enough. There were some very positive things in the debate, some good ideas on whether we should adapt or mitigate, which is essentially what the terms are used in political science to describe what should happen in the environment. So should we mitigate and actually do something about it, or should we just adapt and end up with the science that will help us to actually make things better for ourselves? And this is an endless debate, unfortunately, and probably one we haven't solved tonight. But there still has to be a winner and a loser, unfortunately. But also some best speakers, and that is extremely important. So without further ado, would like to state that Descartes won the debate tonight. Now you might ask, before I give the best speaker, why? Descartes won the debate tonight for one reason, is that the burden of proof is always on the proposition. And the environment must come first. It's not an easy thing to propose. Indeed, we need to explain why it must be the first priority, therefore putting others below or not having other priorities. And this is unfortunately something that the government didn't convince us of, and that's why we had to go with Descartes' opposition, which we felt was more consistent within its team, and actually proved the point that it probably shouldn't be our first priority, because there are other priorities that are also important, and therefore, who are we to judge what should come first? And despite that, it was still a very hard decision. And because of that, we did something a bit exceptional tonight, which is to give 2 best speakers to the government team. We thought that there were some great speaker quality in this team, and that's why it wouldn't have been fair to only give the best speaker to one person. So, Gwenaëlle Ménager, you won one of the best speakers. He deserves it. And Mike Yacoub, you won the second best speaker. Now, I'd like to thank the coaches from Paris Sud for hosting us tonight, and Paris Sud as a whole. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming tonight. Thank you to Philippe also for bringing his team over here. We really hope that this FDA tournament keeps going on so well as it has so far. And please, debaters, don't hesitate to come to us for extra feedback. Thank you very much, everyone.